Hi, this is Christina Battiato, and I am going to talk about reading comprehension and an activity that you can do to improve comprehension in students. So this is an activity where the teacher would take a text, whether it be something that you're reading in class or a book that the student chose. For this activity, I chose the book Little Bear. There's a couple different little chapters within this one book. And we're going to read this. We're going to, work on this. Technically, you could do this in 3 days, over the course of 3 days with a student. For this activity, you don't need a whole lot. You just need a table to work with the student on. You need the book. You need a notebook for the student to write any words that they don't recognize so that you can review them throughout the course of the activity. And then at the end, you would just need a piece of paper as well as some colored pencils. So for this activity, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to have the student look over the book. The first book that we'll do, or the chapter that we would read, is What Would Little Bear Wear? I would have the student read the chapter title to me, and I would also have them kind of go through if there's any pictures, and I would have them explain some of the pictures to me, what they think may happen. After that is done and we've gone through that, I will, as the teacher, read the story to the child. During that time, the child is reading along with me, and if there's a word that's unfamiliar to them, they are able to point at it, and we will write it down in their notebook to go over later. After the story is read, we will then go over the words that were difficult for the student, and we will review them. And that can kind of be done just in the first day. The second day, what we would do is, again, we go to that same story, and then we would have the student go ahead and read the story themselves. They would be familiar now with any of the unfamiliar words because they identified them in the past activity. And so this time, they would just go through and they would read it. During this time, I would stop them. I would have them identify any characters in the story that were important and any events in the story that they found that would be important to the story, just to kind of review as they are reading. And then lastly, and this can be done on the third day, I would have the students, again, we would review the story, and I would have the student draw pictures for me. This is, again, for about a first grade level. So I would take a piece of paper, I would divide it into 3 sections. Ooh, there we go. And I would have the student give me a picture that would represent the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the end of the story. And then what I would have them do was, once pictures were drawn, I would have them describe the pictures to me and tell me about the story based on those pictures. Those pictures can be used as a prompt to help them remember any of the important details within the story. For students, this is a great way to assess what they understood of the story. It's a guide to, if they are able to sequence the story. And it's a good prompt for them to be able to remember the story. And if you do this with a couple of different children in the classroom, they each can kind of tell their stories based on their pictures, and you can get a good sense of whether or not they understand exactly what's going on in the story. And by doing the review over 3 days, having the teacher read the story, having the student read the story, and then following up with an activity where they're using their hands and they're doing a hands-on activity, and they're using pictures to be able to describe the story based on what they know, it's a great way to assess their understanding. So just a quick little lesson and activity to help students improve their reading comprehension, and I thank you.